So, hello and welcome to a new edition of You Are My Boro on the day that Boro are heading to Port Vale to hopefully make it through to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. We've got Dom Shaw pre-Port Vale trip. You well, Dom? You looking forward to it?
New ground for me. Have you done Port Vale?
I have.
You have.
Sunderland in an FA Cup, what would have been a first round game in one of the seasons when they were in League One. I think they got beat. No, they didn't. No, they won. I think they won. It was very unremarkable. But I have been to Port Vale, yeah. The mean streets of Burslem.
Well, funny enough, when I was at Swansea on Saturday, Phil Blanche, I think it is, the guy who does PA down there, we were just chatting about Boro versus Swansea afterwards, and he said, I remember coming up to Boro for a game at Ayresome Park, an FA Cup tie, and I said, will that have been like 94, whatever it was? Yeah, get chatting about it. Turns out that was my first Boro game.
Really?
Boro versus Swansea. And I think it was an FA Cup replay. And I might be wrong here, but I said this to Phil. I seem to remember Swansea wearing orange for some reason.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, that was my first game at Ayresome. So I'm like, God, what a small world. I think that was his first.
Well, that's the only time I've been to Port Vale's celebrity fan. Who's Port Vale's most famous fan?
Robbie Williams?
Yeah, Robbie Williams.
Oh,
yeah, Robbie Williams. It's Phil Taylor's neck of the wood as well.
Well, I was just about to say that. It's starting.
I think he's Stoke rather than Port Vale, though, but he's definitely that neck of the woods, yeah.
Well, yeah, because it was very much a darting hotbed for a little while, wasn't it? What with A.D. Lewis and Ian Diamond White all coming out of those.
Well, Dom, let's hope Boro hit the bullseye tonight.
It feels like a big game. Well, it is a big game.
Listen, that was just what I was going to say. I mean, we've talked about this for a little while now. And, yes, you can't, League One, fine. It's a banana skin, all of that. But what a chance for Boro. What a chance for Boro. A, to get to a semi-final of the League Cup. But B, no Man City, no Arsenal, no Man United. Admittedly, that's maybe not a great thing at the minute. No Villa, who obviously are going great shot. Yeah, you've got Liverpool, you've got Newcastle, you've got Chelsea, etc.
Newcastle or Chelsea are going out.
What a chance, Tom, eh?
That's the thing. Like talking to Michael Carrick on Monday, talking to my mates, talking to fans. That's the thing that comes up over and over again. Just what an opportunity.
Yeah.
What an opportunity to get to the last four. And then even if you were to get a Liverpool in the last four, where it'd be a big ask, like the all that comes with that and the excitement of a semi-final over two legs, I think it'd be brilliant. But when you get the last four, you never know, do you? But you just got to get there. And I think what's been so impressive so far is the way Boro really have professionally seen off every challenge that's come away. All of them have been games that you'd expect them to win, even Huddersfield at the time, because although Boro were struggling, as were Huddersfield, and Huddersfield it was a weak team that Neil Warnock put out at the time. So even that was a game you'd expect Boro to win. And they've done the business, haven't you? You just hope they do the same again tonight. And going to get it out the way early. What you don't want is a repeat of Cardiff or Burton Albion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. They've done everything that's been asked of them. The one wobble was probably the first half at Exeter, which was the one time when I was sat watching that thinking, do you know what? They need to pull their fingers out here because they're going to potentially slip out of the competition without a fight here. And fair play to them. The minute they came out for the start of the second half, that was a completely different game down there. And they finished completely deserved winners because of the way they turned it around in the second half. So hopefully more of the same tomorrow. You were there, as you said, for Michael Carrick's pre-match stuff yesterday at Rockcliffe, Dom. How are we looking kind of team news-wise, selection-wise? I mean, he's made fairly extensive changes for the previous rounds of the competition, but feels like his hands are probably tied a little bit more this time round, that even if he wanted to make a load of changes, he's not necessarily got the options there to do it, has he?
He said exactly that. That even if he did want to rotate, there's only so much he can do. For those watching on YouTube, we've had a punt at a team across the bottom there. Vandenberg, Fry, Clark, Bangura. Wouldn't surprise me if he played Dijksteel at right back and brought Clark in alongside Vandenberg or Fry.
Yeah.
You expect Bangura to probably stay in. Housen and Barlasser in midfield. I don't think he has any other options there, really.
No.
obviously Greenwood's cup tied. I'd expect Rodgers and Silvera. They're the two that I think are nailed on to come into the team. So it's probably who stays in, isn't it? Is it Crooks? Is it Jones? We've gone with Jones, and then again, laugh up front because Coburn wasn't fit enough to be on the bench at the weekend. So you don't think he's it'd be a huge surprise if he was fit enough to start tonight. Carrick talked about the youngsters again, unprompted, really. And it was what he said did make me wonder whether he might be tempted to throw one in from the start. One of the young lads, but I'd be surprised. But just what he'd said, just kind of pricked my ears a little bit. And
feels like that would be a really big call for a quarterfinal.
Yeah,
on the bench, absolutely.
Yeah,
and what a great opportunity to bring a couple of young lads on if Boro are going through with 5 minutes left, whatever. Great. Or potentially even have them there as an option, as a complete wild card if they do need to turn something around. But it would feel like a big call from the start tonight when he doesn't have to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. We thought the squad is stretched, but he's got more than enough senior experience there to put a first 11 out.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I think the only unless there's an injury or a niggle that we don't know about from the weekend, but there was no suggestion of that. Obviously, the Seny Dieng, which we'll talk about, and the goalkeeper situation and the international call-ups ahead of January, he wouldn't have played anyway, would he?
No, it would have been Glover, wouldn't it?
It would have been Glover.
He hasn't really done anything wrong in any of the games thus far. So
no, and we'll get onto it now. Dieng's injury, it's not clear at this stage how long he's going to be out. There's every chance Glover's still in on Saturday, and then there's this international situation in January where obviously Dieng will get called up by Senegal to go to the African Cup of Nations. Will Glover be part of that Asian Cup, the Australia squad for the Asian Cup? He wasn't in the last Australia squad. And again, just kind of the indication I got from what Carrick said yesterday is did Boro maybe expect Glover to stick around? It's an interesting one with Glover, isn't it? Because every footballer clearly wants to represent the country. Would he be overly disappointed? I don't know. This is like the non-professional sports person.
Yeah.
Would he be over disappointed if he wasn't in the squad? Well, and he had a month in the team as Boro's first choice keeper.
Yeah, because you're looking at it and saying, well, you're saying there the chance to represent your country. Realistically, he's going to be going to sit on the bench, isn't he? Yeah. He's going to be going to be a squad player and help the first choice goalkeeper do his warm-ups unless something goes wrong and there's an injury. So, I completely get where you're coming from, because if he doesn't go, then he is Boro's first choice keeper really till the end of February. So what a massive chance for him, because Carrick, everything we've seen about Carrick is that he's the type of manager that if Glover comes into the side and has a really good month, he'll stay in till the end of the season if he deserves it. Seny Dieng won't just come and walk back in because he's nominally the number one at the moment. You know what I mean? We've seen that with Carrick kind of right the way through. So, it's a big chance for Glover tonight. And then it's also, like you say, potentially a massive chance if he's not away with Australia.
And I think
and it solves a problem for Boro, doesn't it, if he's not? Let's be brutally honest as well.
It does, because we've talked about this, haven't we? I would never have expected Boro to sign a keeper in January, because Carrick has said again and again, in regards to the injury situation, what you don't want to do is bring someone in and then a month or 2 months down the line have an unbalanced squad where you've got too many options. Clearly, that had been the situation if Boro had signed a keeper. I think what would have been more likely, and he admitted this to you, didn't he, a couple of months ago, was one of the loan players would have come back. Will that need to be the case if Glover doesn't go, or do you just have Glover as first choice and Jamie Jones as second choice? I think that's. I don't think all the keepers out on loan are playing. I don't think he'd bring them back for the sake of it, would he? If
I don't, when you've got a Jamie Jones there who is an it's not like your next cab off the rank is a 16-year-old who you're plucking out of the real youth ranks and has never come near the first team. Jamie Jones is, to all intents and purposes, a first team goalkeeper. Yeah, he has been all his career, really. So I don't think Carrick would have a problem naming Jones on the bench, with the knowledge that if Glover is your number one and something was to happen to him, then you can trigger the loan recall at any stage in January and get someone back to come and be with Jones and be in and around that. I think that's what they do.
And I think the other thing on tonight, and we talked about this, haven't we, in regards to the other ties that Boro have got through so far. For the likes of Glover and Silvera and Rodgers, this is probably a nailed-on appearance at a semi-final because that's at stake, because they've played in every game, and they'll be hungry, determined to take their chance clearly in the team, but also thinking, if we get through, like, I'm going to play in that two-legged semi-final against Liverpool or Newcastle or Chelsea. You know, it's a huge motivating factor, isn't it?
Well, I think also, particularly for Rodgers, I think his appearances in this competition have been what's persuaded Carrick that he's ready to have this run in the side that we've seen him have in the last month or so, when injuries have created a gap for him. He's shown, he had a rough start to the season when, as we've said right from the word go, he was playing out of position. He was being asked to play as a number 9. That's not him. But it was a shaky start for him. And his best performances in the 2 months after that were in this competition. And like I say, I think Carrick's looked at them, particularly the Exeter game that I keep coming back to, where him and Silvera pretty much turned the tide for Boro in that second half. I think Carrick's looked at that and said, you know what, I can trust you. If I need to play you, I'll play you, no problem. And obviously that's what's happened. And we keep talking about McGree, Force. It's still a bit, goodness only knows when they're actually going to be back. So, if Rodgers and Silvera have an outstanding game tonight, there's every chance they're in the first team right the way through Christmas, if there's no McGree and no Force.
And Silvera obviously scored the winning goal at Swansea, the bizarre winning goal. And if that was bizarre, Alan Sheehan's verdict on it in his post-match presser was even more so. But that aside, they did change the game, both of them at Swansea. They kind of put Boro on the front. I thought it was a bold change from Carrick in the first place to bring 2 attackers on. And they helped to put Boro on the front foot again. They pressed high, they pressed aggressively. Clearly, they'd have played tonight anyway. But it feels like both of those players go into this game with a bit of a bounce now after making an impact off the bench at Swansea.
So what do we think with Port Vale then? 15th in League One. They've not been on a particularly good run for the best part of a couple of months, really. But in fairness to them, they have won their last 2 league games, and they also had a 3-3 FA Cup draw in the middle of that. They won at the weekend 3-2 against Wigan, a hat-trick from Ethan Chislett. Couple of familiar names from a Boro point of view. Connor Ripley, he started in goal, and he will start in goal almost certainly tonight. Uche Ikpeazu was an unused substitute at the weekend. Might get a run out tonight, perhaps more likely on the bench to come on in the latter stages. So a couple of blasts from the past there. But, I mean, a mid-table League One side who, have not been in fantastic form all season. Yeah,
and what I think you would say is when Boro played Bolton, they were a League One team that were going well at the time. I know it was early in the season, but they've been around the top 2 or 3 all season, Bolton, haven't they? Exeter had fallen off a little bit when Boro went there, but they'd previously been right up there and in the mix, hadn't they?
Yeah. And the one thing I would say about that Exeter game as well, an absolutely filthy night that was just kind of ripe for classic cup upset territory. Now, admittedly, we're up here in the northeast at the minute, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that horrendous a night tonight, does it? It's not going to be that kind of a feel, hopefully.
No, but I think on the opposite side of it, and Carrick has pointed this out yesterday and when the draw was made. Yes, this is a big opportunity for Boro, but it's also big opportunity for Port Vale, isn't it? And you would imagine that the atmosphere there tonight is going to be absolutely bouncing. The players are going to be well up for it, and they will make it difficult for Boro, won't they? I'd be amazed if they didn't make life really difficult for Boro. And Connor Ripley, I think he'd done an interview with a local BBC down there, and he was saying clearly it's a game that matters for him against Boro. But they see this as an opportunity to extend what is already their best ever run in this competition. So they, like Boro, if Port Vale, with respect, were to get a 2-legged semi-final against Liverpool or Chelsea or Newcastle or West Ham, then suddenly that for them is a game that becomes the biggest games in the club's history, doesn't it? So I fully expect that place to be raucous tonight and for them to make life difficult for Boro. with that in mind, really, you look at players like Johnny Howson and think they're going to be important just to settle things down, get through the first 10, 15 minutes, get your foot on the ball, kind of get through what might well be a bit of a frantic spell early on if Port Vale try to get open at them.
And does that also make you think more Fry and Clark's likely? Because I look at Fry and Clark as a potential centre-half partnership and think, yeah, okay, Port Vale can throw whatever they like at them for 15, 20 minutes, but you'd like to think they're more than capable of handling that kind of, attacking assault. And listen, Vandenberg's looked very accomplished whenever he's played at centre-half. I'm pretty confident he could do the job, but you do look at it and think, okay, yeah, maybe Dale and Matt Clark for that first 15, 20 minutes, head the ball away when it's being launched into the area, get tight, don't let yourself be bullied, etc., etc.
Yeah,
because
if Uche Piezu plays, and there's no guarantee that he's been in and out this season for him, we know what he's about, don't we? He's a powerhouse. He'll make his presence felt up there. I think I was at Bishop Auckland, was it, for his first game?
Yeah,
where he scored an absolute
worldie.
And we spoke to him afterwards, actually, that day, and he was up there with Liam Roberts as the player most happy to have I've ever seen to have signed for Boro.
Yeah,
just looked like overjoyed at what was clearly an opportunity to, he was given the number 9 shirt, wasn't he? I remember him talking about, being the number 9 for a club like Boro. Didn't work out for him, obviously. I think the manager change and whatnot clearly did it for him. But he always came across well. In classic Football Manager comes across old friend. I hope he does well there, but just not tonight. Or that's
yeah. And it's harsh because Ikpeatsu came in at a time when obviously Boro were making a certain type of signings, had a certain type of head coach, manager in place. We all kind of know that he was very much a Neil Warnock type player. But it does, it does feel like the signings that Boro are making now, that's where the whole backroom setup is. It's pretty inconceivable that Boro would kind of hit the panic button and sign an Uche Ikpeatsu to fill a short-term gap nowadays, isn't it? And maybe that's a bit harsh, but it's also the way that the club have moved and kind of put their flag in the sand and said, no, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to recruit now.
Yeah, because the reality is, I think Ikpeatsu, as you alluded to there, was a Warnock player, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He fitted Warnock's style, whereas Boro now are bringing in players to fit the style of the club and the vision of the club rather than the head coach who's in charge at the time, because they're thinking, as we know, be the next head coach, whoever it is down the line, then comes in and fits the style of the players who are already here, not the other way around. So, yeah, I completely agree. And Connor Ripley, I'm glad to see Connor Ripley establish himself as a number 1 somewhere, because he was well thought of coming through, wasn't he? But it's so difficult for goalkeepers to establish themselves at the hometown club, isn't it? You look at Anthony Patterson up the road at Sunderland. He's a rarity, really, isn't he, for a young keeper to become number 1 so early in the career.
And Patterson at Sunderland got the chance because both of Sunderland's first choice keepers were injured for a reasonably lengthy spell, and he was actually on loan at Notts County, Patterson, and they recalled him back because they had to, and they put him in the team, sink or swim, and he swam. And I think more so than any other position on the pitch, quite often with young goalkeepers, it's just about that first chance. If there'd been a point where Boro had to throw Ripley in because he was kind of literally the only player, the only option they had, then maybe he would have established himself, and we'd be talking about Ripley having played 200 games for Bury. You know what I mean? I think sometimes with young keepers, it really just is about getting that first opportunity, that first foot in the door. Maybe we're going to see that with Glover.
Well, it's so you look at Solbrin now, don't you? Who's impressed on various loan spells, but it requires such a courageous step, really, from a keeper from a manager, to say, right, he's going to be our number 1 this season. I'm pleased to see Ripley doing well there and establish himself. I know he's had a few clubs since leaving Boro, but he seems settled there and is doing well. But hopefully Boro put a few past him tonight.
Yes. So, what are we thinking? You're heading off this afternoon with the travelling contingent. I mean, there's going to be a real. You talk about the atmosphere with the Port Vale fans, but my goodness, the Boro fans are going to be up for it tonight as well. So you'll be part of that convoy trekking across to the Potteries. What do you think?
Any service station recommendations? This is a path less trodden. This one.
It is a path less trodden. It's a fiddly one. I always think it's a fiddly one, Stoke or Port Vale anyway. It's further than you think because you're obviously down the M1, then you're cutting across, then you're kind of skirting around Birmingham. It's a fiddly one. No, I've got to admit, it's not those services round the kind of M6, M42 round Birmingham. I generally try and get past them.
Yeah,
in that middle bit where you generally want to be. I'm always thinking M1, or if you're going all the way, M6 is your next stop. That middle bit you generally get through.
I might play a risky game and play the old service station lottery and just see how I'm feeling and see what tickles my fancy as I'm on the.
Only we've got those top trump cards that we saw. You know exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah, we can report back on services and hopefully a Boro win.
We can. And if any of our viewers or listeners are heading down, then obviously hope you have a safe trip. It's obviously a midweek jaunt, very, very close to Christmas, with all the kind of financial pressures, but also just the time off work or time away from the family or whatever that entails. So it really is a fantastic effort. And hopefully it's a trip that proves well worthwhile. What do you think? And then, Dom, come on, neck on the line.
I think Boro win. I think 2-0, 2-1. I think Boro win. I think it'll be a comfortable, hard-fought win. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think Boro win. I'm going to go 3-1 Boro. I'll go a fairly early Boro goal, but then a Port Vale equaliser late in the first half to kind of set it up. Port Vale have a go for 10 minutes at the start of the second half. Boro see it out, then score in about the 60th, and then get a third with about 12 minutes left. Make it safe. 3-1. Away win.
You definitely take that a 3-1.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Cheeky pound on the 3-1. Yeah.
I need to do that tonight. Really, now you've said it, don't I?
You do.
Well, if you're making the trip, safe journey, and we'll be back later in the week to hopefully reflect on a Carabao Cup quarter-final victory. We'll have the draw, hopefully, to discuss, and we'll obviously look ahead to the league game against West Brom at the Riverside this weekend. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Do subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a rating and review if you're listening on your podcast channels.